The title of my talk today is called Growing Up Gaming. Can video games be good for our children? And the idea that I want to try to share with you, discuss with you, is the idea of whether or not playing video games can actually be beneficial for our children in terms of their social skills. And there are some skeptics in the audience, so I'm excited. I don't actually have any data to present today, so the idea is that I'm going to be sharing sort of what I've learned over the past couple months in terms of the research I've been reading, and to discuss a little bit about some of our research ideas of what we've started and what we're going to be doing. So the way that I'm going to do this today is I just want to start by acquainting ourselves a little bit. Just going to mention a little bit further about my background in terms of research. And from there, I want to learn a little bit more about my audience, like how much you guys know about video games. And that will provide a launching ground for us to discuss what exists in the video game research world at the moment, and how it is that we want to change that. And we'll close up with a discussion. Cool, so about me, as you all know, I come from New York. That's where these delicious candies come from. And I came to the Netherlands in 2008 for, I was studying, I did my bachelor's in New York in psychology, and I came to the Netherlands in 2008 for a short period, and after that I found out that there was a research master's program in the Netherlands, and I returned, so that's a real sign, by the way. I returned in 2009 to do my research master's in social psychology at the UvA, University of Amsterdam, and I just recently began my PhD under supervision. Hey, it's okay. Under supervision of Isabel and Rutger here at the department. So my background is quite from a social psychological perspective. I'm now learning more about developmental psychology. And it's also extremely research focused. So this talk is also going, what I will try to bring to this talk is a bit of a very analytical perspective to what the research out there is already showing us and how we can look at what are the claims of the research out there and how are these being addressed and whether the way they're being addressed is sufficient to what they're claiming. Then the next question might be, well, do you play video games? And of course the answer is yes. If anybody is familiar with video games at all, these have been some of my favorites over the years. My gaming has not been all that prevalent over the last few years during my master's, but now that I'm here and I'm rooted, I think I'm going to get back into it.
Is that you? With the...
Oh yeah, that's me.
Okay,
over here.
yeah.
I have a little kind of toy there, and that's me and my younger brother in my parents' house. Kind of social gaming. So yeah, these are some of my favorite games for anybody that knows anything about that. So now that brings me to my audience, right? Curious what your ideas are when you hear the phrase video games, or maybe some of you play, maybe some of you don't, maybe some of you have siblings that do or don't, or trying to get an idea of where people are at in terms of this very broad entertainment medium, video games. Anybody want to just hop in there?
Well, I don't game myself, but my association with gaming is definitely that it's not too social. So actually, when we talked about it sometime in between your, well, just because we're in the same room, I was maybe for the first time thinking of the positive effects of gaming. So. To me, it was more of a asocial thing to do.
Okay, so that's sort of a bit of a, maybe a more negative perspective. Does anybody have a more sort of neutral, perhaps, way of looking at games, or maybe a positive way that they see games on their side? Yeah?
It depends on which kind of games, because I can understand if you do the Wii or the Kinect. Yeah, right now it is more social because you can do it with the family and with friends. But if you have the other games that I'm not so familiar with,
yes.
It's more, I think, individual.
Does everybody know what she's referring to? Wii and Kinect, do these make sense to people? Yeah? I mean, if not, it's normal, because it's, okay, it's a bit tucked away. And people have siblings that play games? No. Yes, no, some.
It is my idea that games are, I think they become more and more social. So it's all about collaboration and trying to attain something together that you really need each other to get to an end goal. But that's only the games that I know from my boyfriend. We used to game quite a lot.
Okay.
So it was all about talking to each other.
What type of games did you guys play?
It was World of Warcraft, and also the shooting things that you have to shoot in teams, so you play it online. I didn't play it actually, but I just watched.
You saw the collaborative
Yeah.
Slaughter.
Yeah, collaborative. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay. I think you just, okay. Nice. So now I have a bit of a better idea. And so for the people, so now I get to introduce to some of you the concept of the wide world of gaming. Some people know, some people don't. And that is that there's just so many ways that we can think about the way in which a video game engages us. We can think of video games as being stationary, so you're only in one place, or being mobile. You take a handheld device, you go on the train, you go on the airplane, and you're playing. We can think of them as being single player or multiplayer. You're playing alone, or you're playing against other people, with other people, or both. We can think of games also in terms of telling a story, or purely focused on the gameplay. So am I interested in just having fun, or is this within a context of a narrative? And related to that, we also have ideas of whether or not the narrative is going to be told in a linear fashion. You must follow the rules, go according to a set path, or maybe it's branching. Maybe you can make choices and it influences where the game is going. And we can also think about games in terms of being casual or hardcore. Are we playing the game just to kind of let loose, or are we playing this to really master something and to really dedicate our time and our energy into something very challenging and difficult? And nowadays we also have a distinction that we can make in terms of classical control, being able to control with these old-fashioned buttons, old-fashioned, which those still used today, or with biofeedback, as what you mentioned in terms of the Wii, being able to use your body. The idea that I'm trying to kind of convey here is that it can be quite overwhelming. There's a lot of ways that we can look at video games. And I haven't even mentioned arcade games where you go somewhere social, or playing rhythm-based games. So there's a lot going on. And the point that I'm trying to make here is the fact that if somebody comes to you and asks you, well, what are the effects of playing video games? What I want to say is that it's a very uninformative question, because there's so many different games out there that exist, and it's important that we start looking at specific aspects of games in order to understand what they may be doing. Yeah? So that's about just acquainting ourselves with what we're talking about, who you're talking to, what my biases are, and what the video game world is about. Let's get into the research, right?